import some grains from them too as well. So if you're having all these,
do we know where Nigeria imports from?
Nigeria imports from? Off the top of my head, no, I don't know.
Because maybe they should think about doing China and Vietnam so that jollof could be a little better. But I don't want
to. But
they got no Nigerians on the panel, so I don't know.
But nobody defend themselves is crazy.
Yeah, that's a low blow.
But
and welcome back to another episode of This Is Africa. My name is Adama.
What's up, world? My name is Lord.
What's up, guys? My name is Amiri.
Hi, guys. I'm Tamba.
Working on the fluidity of that.
I think that was.
I told
good.
y'all we should have gave a name order to it. You know what I mean? If we memorized it, none of that would have happened.
No, I think that was pretty good.
It's fact. But here we are again, y'all. Another day, full slate of topics to get to, full slate of info to get to. I know we're prepared. I know we're hyped. I know we're a little excited for episode 2. But a little bit, I guess, before we get into it, how we feeling, guys? We did first episode on camera, last one. You know what I mean? That's out for those of y'all who haven't seen it. Go out and check that one out. You know, it's a very good one, a very good intro to us, kind of in this space for the first time. But how are y'all feeling since then?
I feel like we're gonna do better today.
Oh, okay.
I feel invincible.
Ooh, wow. Okay, you got to finish strong. That was a good one.
Mine's gonna come out a little flat, but I'm ready.
Oh, a little flat.
I'm ready.
All right, that's right. All right, guys. So let's just get into it then. Obviously today, we're gonna start off with our news. We're gonna like to do that a lot. It may happen, things switch around, so you know we'll see. But we're gonna talk about economics specifically. You know, because a lot today we've seen that a lot of African countries are dealing with multiple shocks, especially post COVID pandemic. I think that's hit a lot of the countries specifically. I know it's hit Senegal. I know it's hit Mali. I know it's hit a lot of the areas, a lot of the countries in the Western area specifically. That's where
what hit Mali was overthrowing the government. That's what hit us.
A lot of things hit all of us for sure. We'll maybe tap into some of those things in a second. But yeah, there's been tons of disruptions in the global supply chains due to Russia and Ukraine as well. So that's just adding on a bunch of things because we deal with so many trade situations and everything like that. So it's also a big situation happening. And we're seeing some of those impacts in Ghana specifically. With just recently, there were a bunch of demonstrators who were out and they were being arrested for trying to protest over the cost of living, which is increasing severely in Ghana. This specifically happened in Accra in November, this past year. And they've been increasingly more prominent and things are happening more and more and more. And I guess it kind of raised a question amongst us about the economic state of the country we live in. Well, the country we live in mentally, because we're all here in America, but in our country specifically. So I guess today's discussion, we're just going to talk about what is the economic state of our country. How are we feeling about it? What are some things we need to change? What are we working on? How are things going?
Probably Lord could start this one, being that he's a native of Ghana.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on in Ghana is kind of like a microcosm of what's going on globally. In regards to the cost of living that is afflicting Ghanaian citizens, especially when it comes to not only the price of the cost of living in regards to rent, but also the cost of living in regards to foods and services that are out there in Ghana. And it's a myriad of reasons why it's so, especially one of the biggest reasons is the pandemic, because it did definitely bring a lot of economic stress to the country. Not only Ghana, but other African countries too as well. Another thing too is, remember when the whole global chain supply shortage that happened after the pandemic? So that also brought a lot of economic strain to the economy too as well. Then you got Ukraine also too, that also put more fuel to the fire in regards to we definitely import a lot of goods from Ukraine, especially when it comes to food items. So that's also raised the price up in regards to a lot of food items that's going on over here. So in regards to the demonstration that's going on, it's just people, are just fed up. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's a microcosm of what's going on globally, because I can see that there's going to be more and more protests in the coming future in regards to just how things are now expensive, especially since inflation is rising globally, not only in Ghana too as well. So my main thing is more so in regards to how the government is responding to it, and more so in regards to how the government is going to implement either monetary or fiscal policy that actually would, try to alleviate the economic hardship of the Ghanaian people.
Yeah.
So that is something that I just want to bring more attention to in regards to what's going on in Ghana. It's slowly happening not only in Africa and the Caribbean, but globally as well.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, while I was doing research for this, you know, I'm just gonna come out and say it was boring. Like this segment was boring but important, and I'm glad we are talking about it today. But I just want to say I dreaded doing research for this because like some economic terms that they were saying, like for example, the GDP of one region going up from 4% to 5% or going down from 4% to 3%. Like to me, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Like obviously I'm not stupid. I feel like I'm a pretty smart guy. So like I obviously after doing a little bit of research, I did figure it out.
Yeah.
But like to the average person who likes to maybe is listening to us or listening to a podcast, I feel like our goal with this segment specifically, since it's so important, is just to break it down so they understand it as well. So I'm gonna start off by just giving a few statistics that I have here on, and you know, when we talk about Africa, it's kind of people get into this I don't know, it's almost like this habit of talking about the continent as if it's a country, like we're one Africa, like we're not. And most people know that, but still when they talk about Africa, it's just Africa. So when we talk about the economic state of Africa, I'm going to break it down into regions because each region kind of has their own economic, you know, thing going on. So
their own deals as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll start off really quickly with Central Africa. You know, like Adama highlighted earlier, like COVID happened, like the pandemic really did some damage and we didn't notice it until now. Like now we're starting to see the repercussions, and that's why, you know, I guess this revolution in Africa is happening because there's not as much money moving around. At least in some countries were able to recover well, but some countries weren't able to mitigate what's going on at all. And like Laura was saying, monetary policy, fiscal policies is the way the government is and the way it goes. So, and of course, the Russia and Ukraine, you know, you guys were saying the Ukraine crisis, like Russia's going through it too. So, you know, I'm saying I'm not picking sides. I don't know what's going on, but I'm just not picking sides. Yeah, that sounds like a European battle, and that's nothing to do with me.
No, not concerned today for sure.
But it does concern me when it's affecting the continent for sure. So yeah, it's good to talk about it. But I'll start with Central Africa. Right here I have they stayed pretty stable. Like I just want to also highlight, like all these African regions and these countries, they were able to like sustain a pretty good growth rate in terms of the GDP.
Yes.
Although all this is going on, like
things that
talking
increase.
about a 5% like increase in GDP in 2022, going down and projected to be 4.9 in 2023, which this is according to the African Development Bank.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're speaking because you're saying all the regions in general, like even Senegal as well, like what didn't happen was the goal number.
Yeah, exactly.
Which the goal was somewhere around like 5% but we hit like
what you aim
4 or like some high 3.
That's what I'm saying. That's still pretty good in my opinion. And for countries that are going through a lot as well, it's still pretty good. Like for example, the U.S. is not even growing at that rate. I think the U.S. GDP growth is like 2%, but who are we to compare ourselves to the U.S.? You know what I mean? So Central Africa is at 4.9%, projected to be at 4.9% this year, given everything. East Africa is doing relatively well. They went down in 2022 to 4.2% in terms of the GDP, but now it's projected to be up at 5.1%. North Africa, they kind of stayed the same, 4.1%, given everything. And
number 2.
The projected to be at 4.6 in terms of growth, which is pretty good. Southern Africa, right, South Africa, which is another country we're going to focus on today, is the one that's actually doing terrible. But it's carried by South Africa, and we know South Africa is going through a lot of struggles economically, and we're going to get into that a little bit as well. But
for context, they're ranked top 3.
Yeah, South Africa is the top 3 economy in Africa behind Nigeria and Egypt. And South Africa's economic growth only is right now at 1.1% in growth, which is terrible.
Yeah, that's
terrible. And their COVID year, they were like even lower, but the whole world went through that. So 1.1% is estimated to go up to 1.6%. So the growth is not. So whatever's going on in South Africa, they got to figure it out. But I do understand they were going through a lot. West Africa, given all the coups that are going on there, I'm surprised to see that it's still projected to be at 3.9%. And right now, for the year 2022, it was at 3.8%. So they kind of stay even given everything that's going on. So that was just like a quick synopsis of how the different regions are doing and how, although all the struggles are going on, we're facing a lot of issues. It's still doing pretty well in terms of growth. Like, it's not terrible, doing pretty well, but now that's on a macro level, and we're talking about regions. So individual countries obviously like affect that. For example, in West Africa, 9 countries are projected to hit 5% out of the 15 countries that are there, and even some countries are accounting, like those 9 countries are accounting for 22% of the growth. So they take a big
in the region.
So they take a big chunk of it. But now obviously West Africa, I'm gonna give it to Lord to talk about Ghana, but now we're gonna dive in a little bit on the micro level and see how this is affecting the population, because we can talk about these big numbers and boring stuff, but we want to know how it's affecting the population.
Oh, you want to go? I feel like these economic crisis and COVID have not only have affected the continent but also the world as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Because even in the Caribbean, like on a personal level, besides like the economies and stuff, on a personal level, like talking to friends and family and stuff, they have said that like the price of food have went up. Even crime and all have went up too, because people are hungry. People are gonna steal, like, you know, job insecurity, poverty have went up.
I feel like that's a Trinidad issue.
I know you're not talking Mali.
You got a lot going on right now.
Not good.
That's
not good.
You said crime rate. I was just pointing it out. Like, that's a very Trinidad specific issue. We're not crime where we're from.
Alright. No,
stay focused.
Only crime is overthrowing the government, but you know, what's that?
Let him do it. He's
even worse. But alright, feel me? To each his own. But I feel like the Caribbean, I mean, it's kind of different towards Africa, because Africa have a lot of like exportation of products and goods.
Absolutely.
But the Caribbean primarily relies on tourism as a way of making money. So like cutting off flights from people traveling, businesses that have affected all the countries in the Caribbean, down to like the local fishermen like having to struggle to like sell his fish due to COVID. So I feel like this economic crisis, COVID, the war in Russia and Ukraine have definitely put a detriment not only in the world but out of small island states as well.
Even for me as well. I mean, tapping in, since we're like getting more specific, but like even for Senegal, I would say the tourism thing impacts us as well post COVID. Like that's a big thing as far as tourism. And a lot of the money has been lost because people aren't. I didn't even realize how important that tourism was. Like, bro. For a lot of countries, that's, we would talk about things like World Cups and coming into countries, stuff like that. We spoke about, I think it was earlier, when we talked about Brazil post World Cup. Versus
true,
you know what I'm saying, you know what they made in the media versus what ended up coming wasn't, you know, it didn't necessarily correlate. But even like, I mean, one thing I will say, right, so we're talking about how in West Africa there are a lot of positives and we're doing good things over there in Senegal, and in the Western region in general, but I'm not going to let them get away with this, only because there's still so many things that we do to ourselves to hamper our growth. Like, there's still so many things, because even in 2014, like Senegal. Okay, yeah, I guess I am being TK today, but it is what it is. You know, we named it after you. But in 2014, we pretty much hit oil, right? Where we hit a lot of oil and there's oil spilling, and we have the opportunity to make a lot of money, all things that would compensate and would help us grow and all these different things. And a lot of our money now is still, like, we're benefiting from that oil. But instead of us taking this oil and making sure to like have our own companies and our own businesses manufacture and produce and do what they need to do to make money off of this oil, all we've done is consistently get deals and get into deals with people in France, with people in China, with people in England, and give away this oil, give away the rights to it, give away royalties to it, give away anything, pretty much everything. You know what I'm saying? So we're still eating way less than we should, and it's that right there is something that I just wanted to say, because you just can't let them get away with how you're still hurting yourself. The whole world is hurting. There are so many other problems that we need to focus on, but we're still hurting ourselves. And
So do you think Senegal have the capacity to deal with the whole oil industry?
Do we have the capacities? Maybe not. Maybe they do not. Maybe they do. But like,
why not?
The deals should be. That's my point. There's no reason that you shouldn't be able to build that. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to work at that. And I don't know how oil works, but I don't have to give it away while I'm trying to figure out how to build money for it. I can also hold it, be patient.
I feel like Lord actually, about the Ghana thing, like gets into all those specific things.
Yeah.
So if you want to go ahead.
I mean, just briefly touching upon your your point in regards to Senegal, maybe sometimes the reason why they even get into these deals is more so about the production inputs that it takes to actually extract the oil. Because sometimes, like, you know, a lot of these countries, they don't have either the human capital or the skill capital to be able to create these refineries for the oil.
Okay.
So of course they're going to have to import those inputs in order to extract the oil. And, you know, if somebody else is bringing their product, you know, to take out the oil from them, they're going to want, you know, a little bit
PC.
You know, they're going on PC.
We can make better contracts though, can we not?
We can make better contract, but now it gets more convoluted because now you have special interest groups. Now you have how do you call it? It depends on the leadership too as well in regards to how they craft those deals, and you got other external factors that actually play in the game of, because again, you're talking about energy right here. Energy is a resource that nations will go to war for. So in regards to like how you're able to structure those deals and how you're able to allocate them, it gets tricky.
And something even more simple before you start about Ghana, bro. The environment, like drilling those things, just kills the environment, and the West does not want us doing that. Like we spoke about this in one of our episodes. They don't want us doing that. Like the sustainable development goals, like clean energy and all that, they do not want us doing that.
True.
So it's just you have to battle all those things, and they're not going to fund you if you're not respecting those things. So we'll get into that as well. Though, but I want Lord to do his piece about
better
Ghana.
deals are
Real
still
quick.
SDGs.
I mean, more so in Ghana is just more. It's just in regards to the whole crisis that's going on. Yeah, there is a lot of economic strain. For example, off the fact that we get a lot of, and I'm just gonna stick to just food in general, just because it's
what affects people.
It's what affects people the most. In terms of like, let's say rice, a lot of our rice are imported from other countries. Like we're talking about China, Vietnam. I think Ukraine, we import some grains from them too as well. So if you're having all these,
do we know where Nigeria imports from?
Nigeria imports from? Off the top of my head, no, I don't know.
Because maybe they should think about doing China and Vietnam so that jollof could be a little better. But I don't want to.
But
they got no Nigerians on the panel, so I don't know.
But
nobody defend themselves is crazy.
Yeah,
You're good.
That's a low blow.
But all the imports that's happening, like a lot of the foreign goods are now very, very expensive, especially when it comes to rice that are imported from other countries, because the things that, like with the rise of inflation, that's going to lead to a rise in tariffs. So when you're having a rise in taxes, if I'm a foreign company and I'm trying to sell in another country, I have to pay their import duties. You know what I'm saying? So that right there, in order for me to make up the laws for the taxes that I paid on it, I'm going to have to jack up the price, which again does not necessarily affect me. It's more so the consequences are socialized among the people, that they're going to have to pay a higher rate for that particular good, just off the fact that they're losing money off of that high inflation that's coming up. So that affects the pockets directly.
So that means less meals at home.
It's not necessarily less meals at home, but it's more so of the type of goods that you have access to. So for example, it does not necessarily affect like local producers of rice, because local producers of rice, actually their prices compared to anything that's imported is drastically lower. But now you kind of talk about like quality and other aspect of it that you want to see. You know what I'm saying? So over here, even though it does look like a detriment in regards to how expensive these goods are, I feel like from a local perspective, this is a time where local production companies can actually really capitalize on in regards to making sure that, hey, even though things are expensive, if you buy from us, if you buy locally, you're actually aiding in the GDP growth of the country, rather than just buying, because everybody want to buy the foreign stuff, you know what I'm saying? But if the foreign market is actually much more expensive, you actually want to go to the local market. I mean, that's one of the that's one of the trade-offs that's going on.
You said if the global market was more expensive, you'd buy. Are you saying the global market is more expensive?
They want better quality of rice rather than buy local, man.
But again, I'm not. I don't know don't
Who
quote me.
says local is better than the global
Don't quote me
market?
on that. I'm not saying in regards to like the quality or local or anything like that. It's just more so the allure of it.
Having competition.
Because at the end of the day, like you would want that foreign stuff rather than your own stuff, especially in regards to how it's being marketed.
Yeah.
Or how it's being,
from what
or how it's being portrayed to you.
it's all
you know
about
what I'm saying?
competition.
specifically on Ghana, like people have just been complaining about the prices of goods just in general.
Yeah.
Like everything. So
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
it's
But-
and if they're outside protesting, like it
It's
must mean
expensive.
something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it must.
Like-
It's not just like a.
Trust me, when it gets
$2
hard to
difference,
buy,
like-
you'll know.
And also the inflation rate in Ghana is pretty high right now as
It is
well.
high.
That is.
Yeah.
And they just took out a huge loan.
Yep.
Yeah.
In order to
So-
About to be
help the
more in
economy,
debt.
so.
So like in relative terms, again, the reason why I'm saying foreign goods and local goods is just more so of like relative terms, the local goods are less expensive, but it's still expensive either way. Because if everything goes up, like for example, if the price of gas goes up in any African country, especially in Ghana, everything goes up.
Yeah.
Every last thing goes up. So
This is where we
I'm
insert
even wondering
meme here.
like how high the price of gas has gone up, because once it's gone up, everything goes up.
But
Because
you wanna
now
know what's crazy,
they
bro?
gotta like make up for those losses and
Something
stuff.
that scares me, and you talking about this, like, and how this affects the population, bro. The West African region is so volatile right now, and there are so many coups happening everywhere that Ghana has a history of this, and it's so scary. Like this could lead to something bad. This is how
Absolutely.
Nkrumah got out in the first place. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Hopefully not. Hopefully not that that'll happen.
I'm optimistic. I think Ghana is going to be able to like
Be
hold
resilient?
through. I believe in Nana Akufo. I think he's a very smart man, but like, which is the president of Ghana. But bro, it's so like I believe in
Man, I'm
the
not
rest
even
of these
trying to talk
presidents.
about our
Like, all these
presidential
presidents are like getting ousted, and it's hard. But we don't have to get into that. We don't have to get
We're
into
not gonna get into it. I promise you that. Senegal, we got to,
You're
But-
close too,
bro.
It's just the region is just so
Trust.
volatile. It's just
I think that's an African
It's bad,
thing.
bro.
My last-
We got people being put in jail.
My
got
last
people-
point. Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
not my fault. I was about to get into a rant.
I mean, you guys all know who my go.
Lately,
is,
I've been
so-
ranting. Oh my god, we're not
My,
doing
my
that.
last point in regards to the growth rate of different regions, I've on the surface level it looks good, but if you go a little bit deeper into it in regards to the growth rate and in regards, even though yes there are growths in certain regions and stuff, it's more so of who is capitalizing off the growth.
Yeah.
And how is it being allocated to everyone else?
Yeah.
Because you can say that you have a high GDP, but if the social well-being of your people is low, like for example, like if you have, for example, perfect example, the Congo, right, sitting on what, trillions of dollars worth of resources. Now you would have thought that, like, again, the GDP of Congo should be astronomically high, but not really,
They're
because
doing
they are. I mean, you could say that they're
They're
doing
improving.
well, but are people actually doing well?
No, I mean,
because now you got foreign companies in these regions that are actually like,
Still leeching off
making most
you.
of the
well.
money.
I mean,
Yes.
no, but the G, like, let's just like make
That's what
something
I'm saying.
clear.
We're doing well means what?
No, but that's what I'm saying. GDP is just about overall health of the economy. That doesn't mean how the, like Laura says, being allocated is great. I'm just saying the overall wealth with everything that's going on, your country is still able to grow at a 5% rate on a global scale. That's great.
Sure.
That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
That's all
Okay.
I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, on a global scale, that is nice, but at the end of the day, what is the nice global growth rate if your people also don't feel like they're growing as well? You know what I'm saying? Because now it's
Which is
going
why I
to be
said.
No, it is, but I mean, everything
But you
is
get
not gonna
that
happen
point.
at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
because now
Okay.
now it's going to be more so
All
of
right,
like,
that's how it starts.
like how
Not happening at once, man.
you know, how far is your, because at the end of the day what people want is some level of socio-economic mobility, and if you're not giving them the purchasing power to do so, no matter how good your GDP growth rate is, if nobody can buy goods and services, then what's the point of it?
And we hope
fair.
that Ghana figures this out.
We will.
Also, quickly, I just want to highlight South Africa since it was one of the points. We don't have to discuss it. If you guys have 1 or 2 points, once I finish this, we can just talk about it. But it's good to highlight that
We
the
won't
top-
get into many points.
Yeah, the number 3 economy in Africa, which is South Africa, since 2012 has been going. I said 2012, 2007. Sorry, has been going through like intensified power cuts, and they're doing it on purpose. The number 3, right? Number 3 economy in Africa.
Wait, what does that mean?
So load shedding is pretty much for certain hours of the day. Like for example, this is just an example. Like I don't know exactly how it's going on there because
This
it
is
varies
crazy.
on day to day. But for example, they have power in the country from 9 to 5, and then after 5, they'll cut it off for 9 hours in order to have power for the next day. Yes,
Yes.
because they don't have enough power right now.
Imagine that, bro.
generating through it.
Imagine that
that's
here.
affecting everything. It's affecting businesses, how businesses run. It's affecting how
That's crazy.
like
Absolutely.
businesses, operating costs. It's the IT, water, the health, the education sector. Like you have now they have to plan their day around that. But this has been going on since 2007. But now it's intensified all the way to in 2022 at 9 hours daily, and this is according to
Pretty much, if you was
World
living
Bank.
over here, means no charging your iPhone after 12.
Well, it's gonna cut, but a lot. If you have the resources, some people are using like
The generators,
and generators cost diesel
They're
costs
bread.
a lot of money.
They're bread.
So whoever got generators company right now, they're up right now in South Africa.
That's a fact.
They're up, but everybody else is
Sorry,
not
not funny.
It's not. Everybody else is not doing so hot. So this is the number 3 economy in Africa. How's
And
this
they
going
can't
on
even
there?
keep a power on past
That's
9.
one. That's one.
That's tough.
Also, another thing I want to highlight about this.
My fault, but parents would love that.
What?
Imagine telling your kids, go to bed. You know what I mean? Like 7 o'clock, go to bed. You know what I'm saying? Now you have the perfect reason to go to bed. You know,
Or go to bed. They can't do that.
Not a joking matter. Let me know.
You gotta use. I don't know. I'm
I can increase crime.
Okay,
as well,
finish
too.
up. Finish
I'm
up.
just reading these reports. Like I'm not on the ground in South
Yeah.
Africa. I would love to be there for one day, see how it goes. But maybe one day we can get the South African to talk about the experience with the
That'd be cool.
load shedding that's going on. Something also that is going on. The percentage of the population living below they call it the upper middle class income poverty line. It's just the poverty line. Let's just keep it at that. The poverty line, it's gonna in 2020 it reached 60%. 60% of the country is living below the poverty line with power cuts, and the youth unemployment rate is at 60. It's at 60. Where is it? I have it here. 64%.
Tough. That's tough.
And but they classify the youth from 15 to 24. Now I don't know if 15-year-olds can work in South Africa, but that's just a number. But
I know
the
16.
youth unemployment rate is at 64%, and the country's unemployment rate in general it increased to actually 40%, which is higher than pre-pandemic. At pre-pandemic it was 35.9%. So South Africa needs help, and I just wanted to highlight it on here just so people are listening, just to pay special attention to it, because the way they're going to get themselves out of this is going to be amazing, and I can't wait to see how they do it. But right now, the population is really struggling.
I think the whole continent needs help.
I mean,
Dude, leave my continent alone.
I
man.
mean,
Wrap us up so we can transition.
I mean, in regards to any sort of crisis, there's always an opportunity over there, because if people are able to invest money into the stock market while the stock market is collapsing during an economic crisis and make money off that,
Nah, Lord, you did not just say that.
Invest into the stock market. I said wrap us up. This man said.
I'm using
He wants what?
You're not even letting me finish. My
I got it. Wrap
analogy.
it up.
Go ahead.
The analogy
Go
of
ahead.
that. The analogy of that is, since you're in an economic crisis, there's a lot of opportunities for you to have a lot of good investment inputs that will yield a lot of economic benefit outputs into the country. So, for example, the thing going on in South Africa, why not use this opportunity use this crisis as an opportunity to invest in renewable sources of energy? Because it doesn't degrade your environment, and it also actually is more sustainable in the long run, and you don't have to do no load shedding. Another thing in regards to other opportunities that are out there is invest more so in the young youth of Africa, and especially in Ghana too as well, where it's projected by 2050 a lot of young Africans are going to be below the age of 25. Do you know how much intellectual assets you have at your disposal for you to use?
I mean,
so again, in the face of crisis, that's what I'm saying. I'm using that analogy in regards to, although things are going to shits, if you actually look past it and see how you can be able to leverage it to your own benefit or to the country's benefit, in the long run, it actually yields a lot of result, because the best time to do it is now, when things are the most available.
I'm gonna just really quickly, just to wrap it up, because I know we're kind of running low on time.
You will wrap it up.
I'm wrapping it up
I'll
right
be
now.
allowed to speak after TK.
But what you just said, the reason I think what you just said is problematic, because the people that are going to be investing in the stock market or whatever you just said.
No, don't focus on the stock market. That was an analogy.
Oh, no, I know. But for people that are listening, right? We can probably profit off that, but the people living there probably don't have enough disposable income to do that, to invest in the stock market. That's one.
Is he saying that the government is doing that work to put back in the country?
You're focusing more so on the stock market. I'm focused more so on economic inputs.
Secondly, in terms of renewable energy, and I looked at this, and they're actually putting in they got a huge loan from the World Bank as well in order to help mitigate this, like with the energy. But investing in renewable energy right now is just way too expensive for them, and they cannot do it. It's not going to be sustainable right now. Like they have two, so they broke it down to two categories: long-term solutions, which is what you're talking about, renewable energy and stuff like that, cleaner energy, things that are not going to make their on the company actually is ESCOM. That's not going to be depending on that, but short term, what they need right now, they're projecting this to go on for 2 more years, at least 2 more years, right? So right now they're just struggling and they don't have the resources in order to make what you said happen. Yes, maybe if in a few years they could do that, so a crisis like this doesn't happen again. But right now, in terms of short-term solution, what you're saying is not. That's like a long-term plan.
It is a long-term solution, but it yields the best results.
Yeah.
Because at the end
That's
of the
exactly
day,
what he was saying.
Somebody's got to sacrifice at what expense,
we
bro?
have the opportunity to do so. Like the reason why Western countries, like for example,
Wait.
are hard to switch to renewable energy because it's economically pricey to a lot of the infrastructure that is built right now in the Western countries, especially in the United States, are going off of coal-powered energy inputs. But now, since we don't have a lot of infrastructure that necessarily rely on that, we can build infrastructure that relies more so on renewable sources of energy.
I understand what you're saying. It's just right now it's too expensive, and it's easier said than done, man.
It is.
It's just easier said than done. Maybe in the future, but right now, I don't see how that's happening for South Africa.
But yeah, speaking about, I mean, we're gonna use the South Africa thing as a lob. I think that was really good conversation. So I'm glad we had it. The South African point specifically, I mean, one person who reps South Africa very heavy, proudly, and also reps Africa very heavy and proudly, is a UFC fighter. There's a couple fight fans in here, as we can see from your beautiful shirt right there. There's a UFC fighter named Dracus du Plessis. Duplessis. Okay, sorry for my accent. For now on, TK will pronounce this thing right. So Dracus had finished a fight not that long ago against Robert Whittaker, which ended in KO in very good fashion. He beat the man. I'm sorry, Rob, you're a great fighter, you're a legend, but you got smoked very badly. But after the fight is what made headlines, where Israel Adesanya, who was and now is the former middleweight champion of the world, but one of the greatest of all time nonetheless, came into that ring, and they had a very heated exchange where I'm not going to quote everything that came out of his mouth, but it was very aggressive, very violent. I mean, not very violent, but very aggressive. They were cursing at each other. It was a little intense. Some would argue Izzy was the one doing most of the cursing, but that's fine. But a lot of that, he was. A lot of that stemmed from originally Draco specifically, who was pretty much talking about who represents Africa and like who's the real African and in the world of fighting and who's genuinely supporting and doing things for us. And real quickly, I'm gonna just read out a little bit of what he said. So he asked specifically.
You forgot to talk about Drake's race. People don't.
I said he was born from South Africa. Very heavily supporting Africa.
He's a black South African.
He's a white man. We'll get to that distinction. We'll get to the distinction.
All right.
Okay, right. So yes, very big point. Drake is white. He's a white South African, which is the point of saying this. But ultimately, what he had said was he declared he was the real African fighters. And some of his quotes were, "Do the belts ever go to Africa?" Asking if Izzy ever brings them there. He said at the UFC media event in March, "As far as I know, they came to America and New Zealand, where Izzy does fight out of Auckland. Even though when he comes out, there's a big Nigerian flag next to his name." And he says that he will be the one to take the belt back to Africa officially. He says he's the African fighting in the UFC. Him and referencing another fighter that's in there, he says we're the ones who genuinely breathe African air. We wake up in Africa every day. We train in Africa. We're African born. We're African raised. He said we still reside in Africa. We train out of Africa.
Beat your chest.
Damn, you calling them soft.
This is, yes. Ultimately, shots shot at Israel Adesanya.
And also, like, it's a fight business. He's trying to get a fight. He wants to fight him.
There are promotional things involved, and I'm sure he definitely is building up the fight a little bit. Yeah. But nonetheless, these shots are a bit personal because the social media people who are in there and people who post online, they come out and they instigate these flames, and they there's some people who genuinely question, yo, is he more African than you? You know what I mean? Last episode, we had this talk about people who were born in a certain place genuinely representing their country outside of that place, and some people were considered to be less African than others because of where they decided to perform or where they decided to, I guess, make money.
No, I mean, I guess the conversation around Drakus is just him coming out as a white man saying I'm African and I'm the one that represents Africa, while a Nigerian, somebody from Nigerian descent is not, he's not, he's basically taking his a white man taking somebody else's Africanness away. And the conversation came about through social media is whether Drakus should even consider himself as African at all. I want to just clear, do we all, Drakus was born in South Africa.
Yes.
Right? He has a South African passport.
Yes.
He was lived there, raised there.
Yes.
Right? To me, Drakus is African. Yes or no? Is he African or no?
Yes, I don't blame him for his ancestors.
Okay,
ways of making, you know, what I'm saying, bringing the skin to,
I'm
the land.
just for the audience to know before, because we're gonna go in. Is he African?
On
Yes
a fundamental level, yes, he's African.
He's African. Is he African?
South
Yes or no?
African by nationality.
Is South Africa?
But he's
is somebody from South Africa African?
My thing is like
answer my question.
No,
before
hold
we
on,
start.
but I can't directly answer that question because that will raise a deeper question in terms of like, all right, bet who is African?
On a personal
You
level,
feel me?
do you
Like,
qualify him?
Do I just give me your opinion?
It's like if we were to give it a black card.
This is your
Would you
opinion.
give him a black card?
This is your opinion.
A black card.
Would you give him an African card?
Is he African?
Is he certified?
Is he African?
Not by lineage.
Okay.
So he don't feel it.
No. That's fine. That's fine. Is Drakus du Plessis African?
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Why do you say he's not African?
By nationality, he's African.
Okay.
South African specifically.
Why?
I'm more African than him.
Why does that matter?
Yeah. What you mean? Why does that
think that,
matter?
right?
Like
I'm
if your
African than him.
5 parents lived in the country, like you could trace back your ancestry in that specific country. You can't really trace back his parentage in that specific country because
parents
his
were born
father.
there.
I mean, and his parents. Where his parents came from?
I'm not
Where their
sure.
parents came, like
Okay.
pretty sure Europe.
My thing is why. Listen,
Oh,
For sure. We know it.
I just want to say I'm a huge Israel Adesanya fan, as you guys can see.
Oh my
But on
gosh.
this one, I just want to say, why is Drakus not African? Like, why does
I'm
that
not
matter?
saying he's not African.
What does the man need to do?
Because now
No,
you arguing nationality
Let's
and
be
then you
specific.
arguing like somebody's identity.
Okay, hold on.
No,
hold on.
his
To be
answers-
specific, this is the real
like-
question. Do you think Drakus is more African than Israel Adesanya, who spends a lot of his time in Auckland, in America,
the conversation should not be around that, though.
It has to, because we agree he's African. I think fundamentally he can
No,
agree
he
to that.
disagrees.
But do you think he's more African than
Why are you
Izzy?
saying that? I didn't say that.
So what? So say what you say, please.
I said
highlight it.
because the argument
You're on
is
record, by the way, just saying.
around someone's nationality and then someone's identity. You could be born in Africa and someone don't identify with being African.
He does.
For me, you could identify as being African, but not being born in Africa. You feel me? So it's like that's a whole nother conversation in terms of like, all right, what is African then?
Yeah.
You know, because you will have Arabs that's up north that will classify themselves as African, and then you have a certain particular them that will say, I'm not African, I'm Arabic.
But
Yes,
All right.
there's a lot of people that
I
will.
mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
Bro, you Arabic. That's your like.
I think that was a cop out for
Yeah,
answering the
that's your
question. But go
ethnicity.
ahead,
That has
go
nothing to do from. Where
I
you
mean,
from.
personally, for me, in regards to the comments that he made and who's more African than the other, I mean, by default, since he was born there, he is South African. He is African. However, for him to make
Do they have
this,
birthright citizenship in South Africa? Do you mind looking that up real quick? Actually,
however, for him to
I'm not connected.
wow.
for him to try to diminish or strip away the Africanness of Israel Adesanya, to me is ignorant.
There you
because
go.
at the
That's
end,
where it's wrong.
because
Thank
at the
you.
end of the day, you also have to understand your history in regards to how you got here in the first place. As regards to what Amiri was saying.
Okay.
So for you to try to like, and again, I understand the whole promo aspect of things in regards to like, you know, building up a fight. But at the end of the day, it was very, very ignorant of what he says, because even though, yes, of course, like Israel Adesanya went to New Zealand to go fight, to, you know, train
live there.
and basically he lived there just like me. You know what I'm saying? Like where I was born in Ghana, but I came over here, you know, and I was raised over here. That doesn't mean that you have any goal or right for you to try to strip away my heritage away from me just off the fact that you say I breathe African air. That right there, that statement is very ignorant, because you breathe air. You don't breathe African air, bro.
I would
come on
say-
now.
Nah,
like
he said-
think.
the air he breathes is specific. He
You know what I'm
breathes
saying?
African air.
But that
South
leads to
African,
the sheer level of ignorance in regards to like, it's almost more so of like
South
who
Africa's
got
cool, by
it
the way.
worse type of ordeal, where it's
don't do
like,
it.
oh, I had go through a harsher struggle than you. You go through struggles.
Okay.
I'm more African than you. You're both African. So what are you talking about? You know what I'm saying?
I
Just the
won't
level
say-
of ignorance is just baffling.
I won't say it's not only
You know what I'm
ignorant,
saying?
but it's kind of dangerous too,
It
because
is dangerous. Yeah.
it's like a lot of black South Africans already feel a type of way about white South Africans.
Yeah.
You know, especially due to like those apartheid era and stuff. You know, like a lot of people still hold that dear to their hearts. So it's like for you to make a comment like that, it's kind of like saying that like, oh, even though that you're born in another country, like your blackness kind of doesn't matter. You feel me? Because you don't identify with this
You don't
specific
have no
country.
right to strip away somebody's heritage
You know?
away from them, especially knowing
You
how
want
you
me to
got
speak
here.
or you want to speak?
I'm gonna tell you right now, Israel Adesanya is more African than Dricus Duplessis.
To me, I mean,
Okay, and that's just absolutely 1,000% just
to
me.
me, the debate, the conversation is deeper than that. I don't care
This
if
is
he's
how I
more
feel.
African. It does not matter to me.
It matters to me.
To me, it doesn't matter. Drake is African. Izzy's African. Point blank. Now we're gonna talk about
No, bro,
the
'cause he's not
the
like-
broader view of things. How people view white South African. That's what I'm looking at it from. And
Okay, go ahead, go ahead,
are
go
we
ahead.
willing to? First of all, it's not. I have no say. Who am I to say? Are we willing to accept them? But me, if I see a South African, a white South African, he's African. That person is African. I have to embrace him as African because they are African. Drake has went to South African schools his whole life. Maybe his ancestry, right? It came about a different way. Which that's another
So can
separate
we talk-
conversation.
Okay, let me ask you this, right? Because in South Africa, a lot of the when they were colonialized and everything that was going on, a lot of the
I just gotta
the
stay
way
consistent. I said Mbappe is not.
Man, I don't even
Yeah,
want
Cameroon-
answer
controversial,
this,
bro.
okay? With
So
the
I'm
way
saying
that a
consistent.
lot of
You'd be a perfect
their
politician.
ways of living, how they've taken it and brought it to South Africa and then implemented them with their into the educational systems, into the way that there's tons of segregation in South Africa, all these different things that they've implemented and applied.
are we past that,
everything
bro?
that's
That
what do you
ended-
mean past this? These things that's going on to this day.
That ended in 1994.
These are things that are going
Shout
on
out
to this
Nelson
day.
Mandela.
South Africa deals with.
That was the
First of all,
other
you
day.
know this for sure.
I mean, bro,
So-
of course it's gonna happen. It was 1994. It just like it happened less than what 20 some years ago.
Yeah, but that's not the root of where
that's
South
right.
Africa was. What was there prior to them arriving? Things have
Yeah.
changed. He didn't learn the same
What do you mean
things
prior to them arriving?
Prior to them arriving, there was a culture that was there that was uprooted.
You're talking
shifted
about
and
you
moved.
talking about pre-colonization.
Yes. Things would be completely different if those seeds were allowed to grow.
True.
You brought in an entire different world's culture and way of thinking down to one area. You shifted everything.
That's South Africa
History
now.
shifted completely different. The butterfly effect, you've heard of it.
That's South Africa now, though. That's part of the South African identity.
So just off that, he's more African because of that.
I don't think
because
he's more- I don't-
no matter how it's changed, no matter what's been involved in it, whatever, no matter what potions have been mixed together, it's
I
still
don't-
Africa. And now
like I
he's
said,
just as
like I said
African just
earlier, it
'cause.
doesn't matter to me who's more African. It doesn't really matter.
It matters though because he's the one who's saying that he is.
No, his statement, like Lord, I agree with Lord. His statement's out of pocket. He should not have said
It was
that.
ignorant.
But that's why
You
it
cannot say
matters,
that.
because it's dangerous.
What he
to
what
that
he,
point.
what he said is dangerous and it's out of pocket. But I kind of to put myself in his shoes a little bit. I understand where he's coming from. You know what I mean? You can't say you're more African than Israel Adesanya. That's stupid, right?
But you understand it from what point?
But I understand what he's trying to say. Like he's probably been getting his Africanness questioned forever. And like I said, he's trying to get a fight. What's the best way to get to the champion? Just tell him, I'm more African than you. I'm the real African champion. Let's fight.
It's a great point to sell.
That's what he was doing. It's promotion. Like Drake is not stupid. He knows, and he posted stuff on Instagram as well, showing that South Africa loves Drake, bro. They
course they
love
do.
Drake.
But bro, there's a
yeah.
lot of white people in South Africa.
And the black people in South Africa love Drake too. What do you mean? See, that's what
If
I'm
we
saying.
took a poll
now
and-
we're doing that separation.
No,
thing.
no.
You now see
Like,
we're doing that
But it's
separation.
true because
thing.
you're not going to find a predominant amount of the
Bro,
black
this-
South
bro,
Africans
I'm
who are in love with Drake. That's the way that Nigeria is in love with Israel Adesanya.
Let me tell you why what you guys are saying is dangerous as well. We're in America, right? So you're gonna tell a black American, oh nah, you're really African. You're African. You're not from America. You're not American. You're African. That's pretty much what you're saying. If we don't accept Drickus as an African man, black Americans in America, but
Hold on.
you guys have to stay consistent.
Hold on.
You have to stay. I'm onto something.
No.
You know I'm onto something. Be consistent.
no, that's a
No,
great
you're not.
point.
You're not
It's a great-
onto
you wanna-
nothing.
you
You're
can
not
take it
onto
first.
nothing.
You
You're
can
not
take
onto
it
nothing.
first.
I'm
It's a
onto
great
something.
point. No, it's a great point because I thought it myself.
Thank
But
you.
can take-
First
wanna
of
take first?
all,
Thank you.
Go ahead.
America is made up of many different cultures. It's not just one American identity.
Also,
So
we were
is South
forced
Africa.
here, whereas
feel
they
me? So
forced
it's like-
themselves there.
But
That makes a difference? No way.
no,
Yes.
That doesn't make a
wait.
difference.
My
You force me here, and then you're gonna tell me I can't claim you. You
right.
force yourself on me.
But Adama, the reason is dangerous.
Second.
All right, you go ahead. But the reason it's dangerous is it's the same thing to me. To me, I look at it the same. That means you telling you can it's like telling Drake is go back to Europe.
No,
it's like telling me go back to Africa.
That is not the
go
same
back
thing.
to Africa.
That is not
I'm
the same
African.
thing.
I'm
That is not the same thing.
I'm
That is
not
not the same
American.
thing.
But anyways,
You're telling me to come after you forced me here. I'm telling you to go back after you came and you tried to force yourself onto me. There's a completely different thing, bro. And mine is way more justified than the other way.
First of all, you
I mean,
understand where you're coming from emotionally, but we got to take a step back.
It's not emotional. This is logically.
No. This is you. I understand, and I feel the same way as you. But at the same time, Drake's family generations have been there, right?
2 generations.
I think that. Huh?
At the
You said what?
2 generations.
What do you mean 2 generations?
Well,
The
his
Dutch have been there forever.
Wait, but look.
Yeah, forever goes Kamad.
But here's the thing. At the end of the day, my thing is more so just the mindfulness in which you say certain things and how you try to perceive other people, just knowing how your history is distorted. Because at the end of the day,
you still don't want what Drake has said. We agree with you. We know what Drake has said is dumb.
Yeah.
Now we're taking it deeper now.
Yeah.
If we don't accept Drake's,
No.
Is our people that are white Americans allowed to say? First of all, indigenous people are more American. They're the first American. That's why this conversation is a little.
But their culture has completely been slapped away.
But here's the thing that I'm trying to say. In regards to you understanding your distorted history, you don't have the right to take away somebody's Africanness. But also the thing too is more so having the also having the mindfulness of like learning how to, and I'm not trying to be all kumbaya over here, but learning how to recognize each other's position and where they're in right now. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if you try to like recognize somebody's position in which they're in off of the metrics of the past, then that's going to lead to more conflict, and lead to more destruction.
Yeah. Sure.
But now that we're in this situation where it's no fault of our own, because at the end of the day, we're born into something that was already like ordained back then.
Hold on.
But that doesn't give you the right, anyways, for you to look at somebody else less than or less of what you are just based off your distorted history that you have.
And that's why I disagree with you. Because I think I'm still entitled to that. Because ultimately, what I'm saying is this, right? He is African. He is. I'm not denying him that. And like, if you ask me in general, I'll be like, yeah, he's African, right? Sure, I would say that. But
pointing fingers.
But if the conversation comes up where it starts, where it's like, is Izzy more African than him? It's Izzy. And that's just what I'm gonna tell you that. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a bad thing. I'm gonna still tell you, you're claimed, bro. You're claimed. You're still African, bro. Like, when you go out there, you win fights, and you genuinely come out and you say things about Africa. You know what I mean? Like, shout outs to that. I'm never gonna take it. The publicity is good. It's coming in positively. It's not even negative. So it's like, that's all cool and well, but if we're really gonna get down to it, I'm sorry.
My thing is, it's just dangerous. It's just a dangerous conversation we're having. Before you go, Amir, sorry to catch up. It's just dangerous. Because in the comments, when I read the comments, go back to Europe. Go back to where you came from. You're not from Africa. You're not from there. You're not African. Originally, your ancestors.
Okay.
If that's the conversation,
I mean, it is
being black in America. When these things are said, bro. Black Americans are just Americans. They're not African Americans. They're just Americans, bro. So.
Don't explode that conversation. But
but their descent, obviously they're African descent, but they're American. Okay. So I have, you can't tell, somebody else cannot tell you, go back to where you came from, because where they're from is America.
No,
you can't tell Drickus to go back to Europe because Drickus is from South Africa.
They're not the same, bro.
I don't think we're not.
They're not the same. Like, you're gonna make me give you an extreme example. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not the same, bro. You have to account for the fact that one group of people were genuinely forced here. They were forced, bro. I made you a slave, like, quite literally.
That's not what I'm not arguing that, though.
Telling me to pack it up and go home, which they have for years now. It's not the same effect of you came here, tried to take everything we had, segregated everything, change culture, change education system, change everything going involved. You are now controlling our lives. The way we dictated our economy today has been based off the fact of what you did back then. Everything is a crippling and crumbling effect. Telling you to go home is way different. Like, bro, you came here, you forced yourself on me, go back home.
All right.
That does not sound the same as, yo, bro, we forced you here. It's time for you to leave now.
Bro, it's still, I build my life here and you're telling me to leave. That's what I see.
Which is why I say he's claimed. He is. But fundamentally, I'm not gonna say that, like, they do not hold the same weight. Don't use that example.
I mean, at the end of the day, I believe that to circumvent all these,
with the transition,
inflammatory rhetoric about like heritage, is just more so to understand the history of how everything came to being and what we're
Yeah.
living in today,
Mhm.
and just have mindfulness in regards to how you portray yourself and other people who are from the same place that you're from to the world.
Yeah.
And I feel like that leads into our next discussion in regards to music, as to how
We're going lifestyle.
as to lifestyle, as to how now the portrayal of how Africans will look like, especially through
Positivity.
our music, is now in a more positive light because of how we're able to not only provide what we have to the world in regards to our music that everyone enjoys, but also to give a different narrative in regards to how people perceive us.
I actually want the
Ooh.
people in the
Feel like
comments to
feel
let
like
us know.
lobbies
We'll make a little poll on Instagram on our social media platform to let us know how they feel about this, because I don't disagree with anything you guys said, but I just think it's a dangerous conversation when we
for
start
sure.
talking about go back to where you're from, back, because then it gets
Yeah,
a little, it gets a little.
Yeah, no one should say that. No one should say that. I think fundamentally we can break that down, right? No one should try to harp on anybody else.
Yeah, but
live your life, be positive.
I just want you to know, if you ever listen to this,
Yeah, we love you, bro.
You know what I'm saying? You're my guy.
Yeah,
so
for real.
I hope you're going to get that
Always.
belt back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real,
I'm
for
the
real,
only
for
one repping you. I
Yeah.
purchased this merch. I support
Especially
you,
if
my
you see
brother.
this.
Damn, you a fan.
I'm a big fan.
Big fan.
Big fan.
Yes, we here.
Big fan. But I still think
Like-
Drake is African. Just saying. So
He is.
whatever.
All right, so Lord gave us perfect trampoline to hop into both of them. So I'm gonna just line this
Which
up
one
in
do
a
you
way
wanna do
that we're
first,
gonna
then?
we're gonna hop into lifestyle first, and then we can finish off music because they're kind of touching. I think that's what Lord kind of just broke down to me in my brain. It makes sense. They do relate, because we do talk about. Well, when we talk about our continent, a lot of times we find ourselves. You guys can see from season 1, season 2. There are a lot of things we complain about. There are a lot of things at personal level, and this is
Bro, it's
this
just
is
depressing,
us,
bro. It's just
and this is
depressing.
us who are people who are from there, first generation. We're the immediate people. You know what I'm saying? We're talking smack, and
brainwashed.
we have this negative view of it. But now think about people who aren't even us. People who are at home.
Yeah.
The American who sits down and they watch their TV commercials, who've lived here their whole life. People across Europe, anywhere, people just who aren't from there.
We're not from
They're
Africa.
looking at it. Imagine the level of negativity that they see. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of wanted to talk about just positivity in our continent. I don't think our goal was to sit down and just list about a bunch of beautiful things going on here, but we also wanted to tap into just like what it looks like, how it
Yeah.
can look, and what the negativity looks like.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I'm saying?
guess just taking off where you said, just the central question here is just why is the public opinion in Africa and on Africa centered around like a negative narrative? Because
Negative narrative in what way?
I'm going to tell you right now. Even us Africans, I was at a and the reason I came up with this is because I was at a forum with Corna, actually. Corna, if you want to shout yourself out, he's here. But I was at a forum with Corna. It was like a Fin forum, right? And I was sitting there, man, and they were talking about, obviously it's economics. You know how I feel about economics. You guys know how I told you in the beginning how it was boring.
It's amazing.
But you know, I took something out of it. I'm like, hold on, this could lead to something, and maybe a topic for the podcast, right? I'm sitting there, all they're doing, these African experts, bro, all they're doing, and I'm not saying this, I'm not having bad faith in what they were saying. They're actually highlighting real issues, but they're talking about Africa so negatively that you see people turning there. If I'm like, yo, if I was an African, like I would never go there. The way they were talking about it, oh, you try to get a loan from the bank, you can't even get it. Our banks don't have this money. You can't start a business. You can't do this. Why would you go there? I tell my friends, I want to come back to Africa and construct. They're like, man, you crazy. Stay back there. I'm like, these are experts. These are lobbyists, like people that are there that are actually talking about this. And I thought to myself, why? And by negative narrative, that's what I'm talking about. Even when you want to shed a positive light on the continent, and you want to talk about something that issues that do need to be brought up,
Yeah.
but it's still negative. Oh man, it's impossible. It's
Yeah.
impossible. We can't do this. What needs to happen is this and this. So that's why the central question for me is, if you guys want to start by answering it, why is the public opinion centered around like a negative narrative, and what attributes to it? I have a few things on my list.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to go through them, but you
No,
go
we can definitely go through it. I think I just wanted to add on because like Lord asked it, like, and
Yeah.
even like on a mainstream level, like when you think about like me growing up, if I didn't know any better, if I didn't have friends who were African, if I didn't have African parents, like the only like, even when you talk about people at those events, when we talk about like the only investment people give into Africa is donating.
Bro.
Is donating money to things that are in need. You know what I mean? You wake up and you watch a commercial and it's like, you can give $20 today to this in need child of star. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just somber. The music is there.
The
Like,
African Western Union is a thing, bro. Western Union Bank's real, bro.
it's real.
Just saying.
So it's like, yo, bro, like on a mainstream level, even that, you know what I mean? So that's what I say, like, even for the people who aren't from there, who are just sitting back and they're like, who need a reason, or who want to be incentivized to give, to want to help in a positive way or whatever it is, like, there just isn't the image people, being portrayed is not.
Even people on the continent talk negative about it. They want to get us out of there. Like, yo, go if you have the opportunity, go abroad, do your thing.
I don't think so. I mean,
Lord, this is facts. This is facts.
I feel like
factual.
I understand the facts of it, but it's not necessarily. All right, so
you think Africa's portrayed more positively than negatively?
Get that out of here.
I think.
Okay, all right.
No, let him finish.
All right, to answer your question, yeah, Africa is, advertised to the world more negatively than positively. Okay. However, however, I don't know what was said at that forum, but in regards to what you're saying, in regards to like when you want to build a business, it's hard, banks and everything. What I'm hearing is more so of the lack of infrastructural wealth for us to actually do something with what we need. Because, for example, if you want to open an e-commerce business and you have spotty internet connection, good luck. You know what I'm saying? So in regards to like maybe if it's talked about in a, that's why I said I wasn't there, because did they offer any solutions in regards to how we can get out of that? Because there's a difference. Because there's a difference between talking bad about something and highlighting an issue and providing a solution to it. You know what I'm saying? For example, like Hollywood has a bad portrayal of how Africa looks like. You know what I'm saying? Because they're very good at that branding. But now if you talk about a problem that is there and you're able to offer a solution to it, it's not necessarily talking about it negatively. It's more so about, okay, how can we fix this issue that is before us in order to get any economic or social mobility?
Hollywood is a very big entity.
Yeah.
So it's
which
like,
is leading the
I don't
mainstream.
know.
Okay.
I feel
we're gonna get more into it, but Amir, go ahead. But
I
it's
feel
deeper
like
than
too.
that.
Well, from my outside looking in as a person I've never really been on the continent before. I feel like a lot of Africans.
The same thing is kind of done with the Caribbeans for fake sometimes. No, actually, no. No, you guys get advertised a lot for partying and all the fun and all the fets. Matter of fact, way more positivity.
No, but the Caribbean is actually like an inverse of what's going on in Africa in regards to it's portrayed in a very
positive light.
Yeah, they're giving a lot of light.
Real negative things are actually going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, but they're doing a great job at it. That's why people still want to go visit there.
I understand that, but now it's more so about the social well-being of the people. Because how can you tell me that Jamaicans don't have access to white beaches and blue rivers? But more so the tourists and the white people are actually having access to that. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we're portrayed positively, but in reality, like, we're going through some real negative things.
No, but those are Jamaican issues that Jamaicans have to deal with.
But
like, you know what I mean? But I'm talking about in the world. Can I just explain what I want to say?
I ain't saying my point yet.
Yeah, got
my fault.
You did get cut off pretty bad.
My fault.
Yeah, OD.
You gotta be more assertive, bro. That's what I try to tell you.
Bro, relax.
Stop, Stop letting people talk over you.
Alright, like I was saying, you feel me? That's my point. I feel like a lot of Africans doesn't value what the continent have to offer.
Wow.
Therefore, leaving all these other external factors or external entities, westernized countries, other big businesses to come and extract the resources out of Africa, because a lot of Africans doesn't see the potential or the wealth or value that Africa has to offer. Not only that, too, they may not have the resources to kind of expand on the wealth that's on the African continent.
Wait, you're saying that you think Africa's portrayed more negatively because we don't believe in ourselves, type of thing?
Yeah, and not only that, because if you think about it, majority of Africans, they want to move to other countries. They want to like raise their family in other countries. They want to like build their career. They want to build businesses in other countries, and then hopefully maybe send like remittances back to help their families out. But in terms of actually like coming together collectively and building wealth on the continent, I feel like a lot of Africans doesn't see the wealth and the value of the overall continent. I mean, yeah, you may have intellectuals that may feel like that, but the average person, the average local person, if you're going through struggles, you may not see what's valuable on your continent. If you could have acres of land, but you're going to sell it because you don't see the value of it.
Yeah, but then you talking into a deeper issue, which is like education and stuff like that.
No, it's not only education. It's
but for
interpersonal
the people
level.
To be educated to know the value. The reason you know is because you're educated. Those people sometimes, or us people like Africans that live on the continent, sometimes it's hard for them. But I'm talking something even more broader, bro. What I'm trying to bring out is even broader. I'm talking about how we just portray just in general. So one of the things is that I came up with was the historical legacy. Africa has a history of colonization, exploitation, slavery by foreign powers, which has left a lasting impact on this socio-economic and political landscape. True. We can all agree to that. That's one. Two is the media representation, which I was talking about with Lord.
So the media, Hollywood is
both
bigger
in
than
Africa and internationally. Again, both in Africa and internationally often emphasize negative stories such as conflict, disease outbreaks, poverty, and corruption. When you talk about Africa, you go somewhere, what's the first thing you hear? Corruption. What's the second thing you hear? Disease. What's the third thing you hear? Conflict. Boom.
Some of the most famous movies, Hotel Rwanda.
Blood Diamond.
Blood Diamond.
Hold on, I'm not
those
done.
are big movies.
Let me finish, huh?
I mean, yeah.
They're good movies.
Let you land.
But hold on, let me finish.
But Hollywood is the portrayal.
Let me finish. And these stories tend to receive more attention than positive developments that you were talking about. Another one is if it bleeds, it leads, right? And that's the approach we're taking to reinforce these negative stereotypes on the continent alone, right? There's more I could talk about, but I just picked those two. Maybe one more. Confirmation bias, right? If it bleeds, it leads. Stories that sell about Africa in the news or just in general, things people want to hear about, right? If you want to get money to Africa, send aid. We're going through a conflict. Send aid. Let's build a business. Like, you know what I mean? There's those things. So another thing is the confirmation bias. Once a negative story becomes like entrenched, it can lead to the confirmation bias, where people selectively focus on information that supports their existing views and ignore the positive developments. So if somebody's idea already is that everything is negative, which is what you talk about, that our people don't value it. No, our people are just tired of our government letting us down. That's why they're leaving.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to worry about. You know what I'm saying? So but go ahead, because we're winding down, so we'll save some of it.
There's a lot of things that play a factor into it, and I think media representation is number one.
Absolutely.
And us ourselves, the way we speak about Africa. That's why we even started this platform, to speak more positively about Africa. But it's important to highlight this, because even Africans themselves, when they talk about themselves, instead of promoting themselves, they're bringing themselves down. You know, it's almost like this begging mentality. Oh, we're going through so much. We're so sad. Please just help us. And that's the idea everybody has. Now, I'm not saying there's not terrible things going on. Conflict is going on. Disease outbreaks are going on. You know, poverty is going on. But that's not the continent. That's not it. And we all know that. We all know that.
My thing more so is who controls that branding? Because, for example, I feel like it's mostly Western powers that control their branding rather than we do. Because, for example, I feel like now
for sure.
It's actually switching. And the reason why I even saw the switch, and again, it's the type of people who control that branding.
Yeah.
Perfect example. Snowfall did a scene in Ghana. My goodness, that was beautiful.
Yes.
In regards to the wedding, in regards to how I looked at the market, going to buy foodstuffs and everything.
That was lit.
That was a beautiful portrayal. But guess who's the director of Snowfall? It's a black person. So who controls that branding?
You know, Lord getting into it when
no, seriously, who controls that lens in which we decide is which the world looks at us from? Another example, Nollywood.
Ourselves as well.
Nollywood is the biggest movie production entity in Africa.
You can turn it off.
It's third to Bollywood at this point.
You can turn it off.
A lot of the Nollywood movies and TV shows that I see on Netflix depicts Africa in a very, especially Nigerians, in a very high positive light. They're lawyers, they're doctors, they're entrepreneurs.
You ever see Young, Rich, and African?
But that's everywhere. That's
man.
everywhere. That's everywhere. Everywhere has their own version of reality TV.
Stop it. Look, I
that we find some level of entertainment.
Right now,
no, it's not kumbaya.
Let's tell the people the real issue going on.
It's not kumbaya. I am talking about the real issue.
Yeah.
But in more so, the real issue is who is or what entity brokers the power in which we are looked at upon as a people.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if it's our fellow people, we will try to make us look as great as possible. Again, not trying to diminish the woes that we go through in our own lives. But at the end of the day, we try to change the narrative that, like, look, we are not a sad case all the time, and we choose not to be a sad case all the time. It's the people who have so much leverage and power in regards to global branding that choose to see us like this, so that we will still become that sad case. Because I've seen other cases where, again, like Snowfall, like they did a beautiful job in regards to how they depicted Ghana specifically. And it's not like they did it in a very glamorous way. They did it in a very real, like, I was just blown away. I was like, this is it. This is how we can actually show the world how it really is.
What I'm trying to tell you is that
hold on. Because I think fundamentally, he's just giving a solution. Like, you haven't necessarily, like, stated whether or not it's like this is overly negative, this is overtly positive. You fundamentally said this is where the problem is and this is how it can be better.
Bro.
And it's agreed. It's very agreed. Like if you put people in position, the reasons why he's right, because there are movies that are coming out that are way more positive, like Wakanda and our Black Panther. Like all those beautiful things are happening. Even when you think about things that have went on, like Coming to America, all those different things. Like Coming to America, you start off as like, oh wow, he's like exposed to, but the real look was at America and kind of how it was crazy to him. You know what I mean? And then it ends with the beauty of Africa. So there are little gems that come in, like, and Michael Jackson, also credit to him for doing a lot of stuff as well coming up. But, and also the lot of collaboration is happening with the musical artists and the Western side of the world.
Well, I don't disagree.
But those
with
are
that.
all solutions, and those are all things that he's saying that I think are fundamentally just
I don't disagree with all that. Black Panther, if everybody was happy,
you could wrap us up.
Black Panther was for Africa, right? And I agree with that. Snowfall, I watched it as well. Great scene, and it made us look good. You telling me that there's other hands that are controlling the narrative? That may be part of it, but in reality, Africans are sitting in these rooms and are the ones bashing us as well in order to get themselves in power.
But then y'all talk about two different things.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. What I'm talking about is that when Africans are at the table, when we are representing ourselves, we fail to represent ourselves in a positive light. We're going towards what sells instead of doing what, for example, Snowfall is doing or what Black Panther is doing. Black Panther is Marvel. It's Hollywood. They have to come and do it themselves. I'm talking about us ourselves.
I see your point.
We sit there and we bash each other every day. Oh, look at what's going on in that country. Blah, blah, blah. Talk about that in a negative light. Right? While there are positive things going on. That's where I was making my point. I agree with what Lord's saying. But I'm just saying the point I'm trying to make is once we get there, the narrative needs to change on a global scale for all of us when we talk about it. It's not like I'm talking about even the average Joe. When you tell them, hey man, I want to come back and live there, what do they tell you? Man, you better off staying there. Over here is not good. Why is that? Why is that what somebody who's living in my country telling me? Like that doesn't sit well with me, and it just goes towards.
But that's a universal issue, though, bro.
It's an African issue first.
Sure, no, but I'm saying, I'm saying like people of a country
can change the narrative. Just alone narrative. If people can look at Africa and be like, oh my gosh, this can happen. Black Panther, we can see it. If you can see it, we would try to make it happen. You get what I'm trying to say? We're not seeing it. We're seeing conflict. That's all we're seeing. We're seeing diseases.
And that comes back to the Western, but that comes back to the media on the West, bro. That comes back to how they're pushing that out. That's not the people at the table, though.
And
like, because they literally, hold on.
You tell me these executives are not, like, there's a CNN Africa department. Like, these people can do a better job.
Sure. No. But what you're saying, they're reporting news on things that are going on in today's world, correct? Which is their job. Hold on, but everybody's doing that. That's like also in America. What do? Report the negative stuff that's going. If you turn on the CNN, you turn on NBC, you turn on Fox, it looks like a negative storm. Every media panel or news, everything in the world looks like that.
There are way more positive things being talked about in America than
on the news. No, there isn't.
I'm saying that's the news. That's the news faction.
But that's the biggest point. That's quite literally the biggest thing because when we're talking about how Africa. No, I do understand what you're saying. But what I'm saying is the biggest component. I agree with what you're saying, but I think it's minuscule compared to the bigger thing, which is where we talk about people, like how they portray us in the media and in those spaces. When we talk about how Africa's portrayed, we're talking about in a broad way. We're talking about to the casual country person in South Georgia. We're talking about the guy who's living in Paris, France. We're talking about the person living in Auckland, New Zealand. We're talking about the guy in Beijing, China, who turns on the news. Like, they're not looking up, like, Africa news specifically. They're turning on their general news thing and they're getting the bare minimum. And the bare minimum is where you see those commercials of people poor and blah blah blah, or you see the things of Ghana going on, and that's where the bare minimum comes. It's up to them as well to portray bigger things. People go to the movies and watch Wakanda more than they go on their laptop and find out what summit happened at what conference and how they talk about us. They're gonna watch Wakanda way more than that summit. You're gonna find 30 million people watch Wakanda.
People on those summits are the ones making a difference. They're the ones sitting at the table.
No, they're not the only ones though. It's a global effort, correct or not?
Of course, but I'm saying they're part of the people that are sitting at the table.
That's what I'm just saying, that I think the media is a bigger part of the thing, because I think on a global setting, if everything changes with the masses, with the mainstream casual, things will impact everything. It trickles down.
But then who's going to do that?
So would you say that that's actually happening in our music? Like,
I think it is happening.
For sure, it's happening in music. I just
if you want to leave this point, I'll transition to music. That's a good point. But if you want to
just to wrap it up, like when. I'm gonna take us back just a little bit. When slavery was happening, we sit here and we're like, yo, how did our ancestors let this happen? How did they watch this stuff happening and let this happen? right? They were there. They could have made the change. They could have done this.
Oh, you want to Kanye us?
No, I'm not
He
Kanye.
He doing a Kanye. He putting a Kanye right now.
Kanye,
Ain't no
bro.
Kanye.
And even if that's where I'm going with this, then so be it. That's not the idea I had in my head. I don't even know what Kanye said. But if they all like did something to make it happen, but this is one of those this is the magnitude of what it is. Like we are letting.
Now he's gonna have the final point. We're gonna wrap.
Not other people. We are the ones letting this happen to our culture. Now it's changing a little bit. It's coming more like they had a year of return and stuff like that. All of that is going on. But where it matters, where the people have the money to actually make the change, and their view on their own continent is this. That's why I think we're in the position we're in the first place. The media does a great has a big part to play in it, and I agree with you from that standpoint. But that needs to change. We need to diversify the media. When we're at the table, instead of bringing up stories, let's bring up a story that actually might shed some positive light on us. We know the negative is going on, and we know it needs to be spoken about. But does it have to go? Does it just have to overshadow the positive just in general? Like it's like if you hear about Africa, it's like no positive happens there.
All right.
I'm just saying.
We're gonna wrap on that. We're gonna wrap. I mean, obviously, it's an open conversation. We can dive into that.
Let us know in the comments. Yo.
But yeah, I mean, to one of those points, Laura, you tried to lob us up in there earlier when we talk about just music. When we talk about how we're expanding, one of the positive ways is in our music industry. We have obviously a lot of international collaboration with people, some of the biggest artists everywhere. We had, for example, some of you guys may know, maybe like Rema and Selena Gomez's song "Come Down."
Baby, I'm actually happy to
good
talk
tune,
about
you know what I mean?
This is positive.
Yeah, these are one of those good positive things that are going on. So pretty much, just to like open us in, and we could just finish out here. Obviously, entertainment in Africa is booming right now. We already know Burna Boy just released his album. I told them, recent one. You know what I'm saying? Pretty calm album. I mean, personally, not one of his best, but good album. Making this his 6th studio album though, and a lot of people are on social media kind of asking whether or not he's the GOAT. Is he the GOAT internationally specifically, or is he the GOAT of Africa? That kind of seems like a conversation that's kind of leaning his way at this point.
I only know one GOAT.
That's funny. I grew up on 2 goats, but ultimately, I guess that's like we can wrap up on here fun. Like, is he? Do you have a personal GOAT? Is he the international GOAT for real? I know you might have a little something. I mean, I know we got a lot of.
Let's just be happy for
the
him,
greatest
man.
of all time as far as artists internationally. But I will say, I'm gonna open up like this, right? Because personally, I really love Davido. You know what I mean? I love Burna Boy as well. I'm not gonna say who I like more.
For the people that don't know,
another artist, a Nigerian artist, makes big tunes. For me, the man has straight hits. In my opinion, we already know a couple of them. Some bops they've been having for a while. Like "Unavailable" is a new song. You know, I know you guys know a lot of that.
Who knows the dance? Let me do the dance. You know the dance?
I got you, boy.
Let's do it.
The dance.
Yeah.
Talking about me do the dance. Like, what?
You the dancer of the group. Like
you are the dancer.
Stop acting like that.
Bro,
let these people know about
You
it.
do the dance like I'm a clown.
You're
like,
right. He did say don't let people walk on you no more. So that's valid.
Talking about I'm not gonna do that after. I'm not gonna finish it.
I got you.
Not gonna be
Burna Boy, even though Davido got a beautiful dance, Burna Boy might really actually be the GOAT. Growing up for me though, just special shout outs to Youssou N'Dour. He's Senegal's GOAT. I'm Michael Jackson, not that he could dance like him, but the man was the entertainer like him. Youssou N'Dour was my GOAT growing up. Man, songs like Weedy Weedy, Biddy Ma, 7 Seconds. I just want to throw you out there. That's my original GOAT. All right, we go Burna Boy. But speaking about today's time,
I'm gonna represent
yes.
Francophone Africa today.
Burna Boy is the GOAT. In Africa specifically. Internationally,
Okay.
I'm gonna have to give it to somebody Spanish.
Who said
Honestly,
that?
they be destroying the charts.
I only know one
Bad
GOAT.
Bunny?
You guys know who my
One of
GOAT
them, bro. One of them.
is? You guys want me to say who my GOAT is?
Sure.
Yeah.
I know.
You already sound like you about to say
I already
something
know it
crazy.
is.
You guys know who my GOAT is. You really want me to say it on air?
What's your goal?
I know. it.
No, not that GOAT. Come on, man.
I already know
No,
that.
we don't want to know that GOAT.
I'm
Give me
just
your
saying.
music GOAT.
I'm just saying that I don't know musical GOAT. I know one GOAT.
I said preferably,
What?
right? All right,
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I mean, definitely in regards to who's dominating the Afrobeat scene right now is Burna Boy, because of the milestones
I
that
disagree.
he's been able to accomplish. Of course, they're the big 3. You know, Davido, Wizkid, Burna Boy. Those
Disagree
are the ones
still.
Yes.
that are dominating.
What's wrong with this guy?
However,
Bro,
there.
you guys are not.
Yeah, let Lord finish. Let Lord finish.
Going to what he's
Hit him
saying
with the-
though.
hit him with the let me land,
However, in regards to like just again, Afrobeats is just more than the Anglophone Afrobeats. There's the Francophone.
There you
ones
go. It
as
just sells in
well.
America.
So
So
like
stop
you know,
playing.
you got Dachu, you got Matu James,
That's
you
good
got
games. There we go.
you know,
There we go.
You got MHD, you know what I'm saying? All
MHD,
these
all
things
the
is there.
mainstream.
I only
The-
know
the re-
one boss, and that's the world boss.
But the thing
Bob
which
No, Vibes Cartel. You talking about?
the thing which fascinates me the most, and in regards to what I'm seeing right now, and juxtaposing it to what dancehall went through back in the 90s and early 2000s, is what's going on for Afrobeats. Because back then, back in the 90s and 2000s, this is where dancehall and hip-hop community were coming together and doing a lot of collabs. So you got your Beanie Man, you got your
Sean
Mavado,
Paul.
you got your Sean Paul.
Elephant Man.
Same kind of a deal is happening right now.
Mike.
Mr. Vegas.
Huh? Mr. Vegas. you know?
Yeah.
Same kind of deal is happening right now in regards to Burna Boy.
Nah, facts.
Collabing with, a lot of American artists, like, with the whole Wu-Tang thing. You got Wizkid, doing collabs with like people like LMA. I'm blanking on other.
Wizkid is bigger than LMA. Don't ever disrespect him like that ever.
No, he's talking about the collaborations.
Collaborating.
Why is he doing that?
LMA
He never did
collaborated
it.
with
He
Wizkid.
never did it. Okay, he did not try to do that.
Alright, just
Ella,
saying,
we're not
yo.
even trying to bother. Your voice is beautiful. We love you. I love you.
Don't disrespect Wizkid like
My
that.
main
again,
focus is more so of how these people are bridging in a new era in regards
I hear
to
you.
how different genre of music is more so now becoming a mainstream part of our thing. Because now, back in the 90s and 2000s, you got a lot of hip hop music that's playing, but you also had a lot of dancehall music that was playing that appealed to a lot of people in the masses.
Hip hop wouldn't be lit without dancehall.
The same thing that is
in the
going on
2000s.
also in Afrobeats too as well, where now it's just becoming as popular as dancehall, hip hop, and now you got Afrobeats. So I just like how it's just. Again,
Bro, why
in
you-
regards to the
Yo,
goats,
let
it's
him land.
No, but why is he
It's-
being so political? Like,
It's not being political. I already said my
How he
goals.
feels about music is political.
Say Afrobeats is on top right now. I don't want to hear it. Stop trying to give them their flowers.
No.
They're not flowers.
It's
They're not
not. It's
officially.
not
We're
about
on
saying
top right
Afrobeats
now.
is on flower.
It's as simple as that.
Even Jack
Just-
Africa.
It's called This Is Africa.
I'm just
That's
saying.
it.
I'm just highlighting the transition and what we're experiencing right now is what our kids and our kids' are going to enjoy the reap and benefits of it. Just like how right now you're enjoying the reap and benefits of it in regards to the trailblazers of what they did in the 90s and 2000s and becoming one of the dominant genres, not only in the United States but globally too as well. That's the same thing that's happening over here,
Lie. You
and
can't
that
play,
is being
you can't play
pioneered
Vibes
with
Cartel
our
music everywhere.
goats,
Sorry.
such as my goat,
Yes,
such
you
as
could.
Burna Boy. Then you got Wizkid. I love Stoneboy. Stoneboy is my favorite
We know about
Ghanaian
you,
artist.
Stoneboy, yeah.
Top one. You feel me?
Yeah, I don't know about all
So
these
that's-
Afrobeat
so that's-
artists.
so that's
I don't
what I'm
know
saying.
about these.
Yeah.
Burna Boy. I know about
Burna Boy's a goat?
yeah.
Yes or no?
Burna Boy is the goat. He's my goat.
Is he's an international goat as well?
He is internationally acclaimed,
Cool.
for sure.
Yo, without Caribbean music, so I don't know where Afrobeat's gonna be at. To be honest,
What in the
we gonna keep it a buck. We gonna keep it all the way up,
Bro, I knew which
We gonna
angle you was
keep it a
coming from,
buck.
but you're wild.
You know,
Don't
like,
say it like
without
that.
Caribbean music, Afrobeats won't even have a lane. To be honest, yeah.
Damn,
Oh,
bro.
I just got recognized a couple years ago. Come on, don't do that.
All right, but that's what I'm saying though. But until
In America,
but we go
see
through
what I'm
that
saying,
transition.
yo? This the media's
we
fault,
go
like I
through
was saying earlier.
that phase that y'all went through in the early 90s
True.
and 2000s.
But
you know what I'm saying?
hip-
So this is our time to
Yeah.
also.
Lord, stop trying to be political. You just came out your head. Come back at him.
Bro.
Historically, hip hop came out of reggae.
Yeah.
Jamaican music.
Yeah.
For me,
Where did reggae
So,
come from, dude?
What you mean? Jamaica.
Jamaica, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, reggae came from.
There's
Bro,
no traces
where-
of reggae all the way
where-
back in Africa, dude?
bro,
The
historically.
sounds,
Oh
the
my
drums,
God.
the strings.
All right, now you take.
You said historically,
Now
I
you
didn't say it,
looking.
you said
Now
it.
you looking at it from a historic ancestry perspective.
My
Yeah,
man just said
of
historically.
course.
and he- Stop it, bro. We're done. We're done.
You are literally the historian.
Bro, you looking at it from an ancestry perspective. All right, bet. Yeah, majority of people from the Caribbean came from Africa. All right, bet. But each
All of
country in the Caribbean have their own unique culture and they have their own unique music,
Majority.
and they have
Yes.
an influence on the global music.
Sure. Things can bloom and turn into beautiful butterflies and nice flowers. But you came out your mouth and said that there is no stone set without y'all.
Yo, bro,
Don't
I'm
be
is-
telling you,
disrespectful.
son.
that
Don't
is-
be disrespectful like that.
You don't
again,
give a
ultimately
please.
fuck.
is
That's
wrong.
what paved the way for Afrobeats.
No, you could say, bro.
I'm
That's
gonna
fine,
play devil's.
that's
I'm gonna
fine.
play devil's advocate.
There's no
right
devil's
now.
advocate
You
to
feel
what's
me?
fundamentally
Nah,
wrong.
Say it with your chest.
Yo,
And then, yep.
Come
I'm
on,
with
son.
you.
You don't hold it down.
We
I'm with
dapping
you.
each other up for lying.
No, fine. This is the first time.
For lying?
This is the
Lying?
This is the first time
Come on,
Emir
bro.
showed conviction on this podcast, and I dapped him
And
up
it's
for that.
wrong.
I
It's
did.
the
is that
worst take
wrong?
you probably
How
ever
is
made
that
as we've been
wrong,
in
though?
this.
Hey, a win's a win.
Keep it a buck, bro.
Everything starts
Alright.
with us. If you're trying
How
to
it
say,
starts
if
with
you're
y'all,
trying,
though?
bro, Fundamentally, it starts with us. We were dropped off where you don't get me. That's why I said
always use that argument.
No, bro. It's not a negative thing though. It's facts. It's not a positive or a bad thing.
There's no way we have two black men separating each other.
You know what I'm saying?
We're not separating each other. Come on, it's all love out here.
Everything, bro. Everything is positive. There's no bad to it. You feel what I'm saying? It's like it starts with us. That's what I'm saying. Your whole point of there's nothing without we are the there's nothing without us, and that's just all over the world. We built whole countries. France is nothing without us. There's tons of places that are nothing without us. You want me to get? We're staying with music. Cool. All the beats and the heritage and everything starts with us. People are dropped off in different parts of the world, and music has changed. In the upper northern areas where we know as the United States now, people have made things like hip hop and all these different types of music. In the southern area where we have the Caribbeans, people have made things like reggae, and we have soca and dancehall and all these beautiful, beautiful tones, and we're meshing so well. But it starts with us. If you want to say that maybe dancehall was popping a little bit more, and maybe like different flavor of music was exposed to the mainstream prior.
Come on, we set the trend.
But Afrobeats has also been mainstream. Houston Dude has done songs with people like Michael Jackson. Like these are things, and that's for years.
I hear music.
But bro, when people say Afrobeats, we talk about Afro music on a mainstream level.
No, but I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Because, for example, like perfect example that I would say is that, like, especially in the early 2000s, like there were a lot of hip hop artists that had some Caribbean ancestral roots that were able to actually really bust the rhymes. You know what I'm saying?
Everything Busta will tell you.
The collab with Elephant Man and
I heard 50 Cent's Nigerian.
I'm blanking on the song.
Talking about what? Twister.
I've been dancing.
You don't want 50 coming for us, bro.
Pon the River.
Yeah, Pon the River. You know what I'm saying?
Everybody know about Pon the River.
Exactly. So I think I get what Amir is saying in regards to it created favorable grounds for other genres of music to have a foothold not only in American pop culture but also globally too as well. So I think I get it.
But this is on record though. That's why I just couldn't allow for him to be like this without this. But we could wrap up on here. Go ahead.
So we're just gonna talk about all this, and we're not gonna mention Akon.
Akon, young Jesus.
We're not gonna mention Akon, my Senegalese brother. Don't ever disrespect.
Houston Dude still might go, but that's what I'm saying, bro. Akon was been popping.
My point being this is
say something.
He did a lot of collabs with other Afrobeats artists in the beginning, like for example, Chop My Money with P Square.
Yeah,
that was
Chop My Money.
Chop My Money.
I understand. I have to leave this up by giving some love to Francophone Africa as well.
Me too.
Our artists in Europe, they run the scene. Burna Boy is out there, but they run the scene.
Yeah, like Tyke is dope.
Tyke is coming up. He's up and coming.
MSG
Games is him. MIC is him.
Nah, we're wrapping up.
That's my last point. I feel like one reason why Afrobeats have kind of went through the roof as well too, especially in the global market, because there are more Africans around the world. Look at the size of Africa. They have more potential to promote than
you're not wrapping up. You're giving us a question that's going to make me argue with you more.
No, but not only that, but we can leave it at the light. The light is finally getting shine on the African continent. Yes. Finally getting it.
I like that.
And you're seeing everything that's coming out of it.
It's beautiful.
And we're going to shine it and show the positives of that, such as music. Things we could talk about. This is look, we were laughing when we were talking about this. Nobody looked depressed. When Lil was talking about the economy earlier, he was sad. Lil was like, man.
He was coming in flat. We sounded flat the whole time.
Now he's up now. So I think this is a good place to leave it. I actually enjoyed the conversation today a lot. You know, guys, you can always find us at
t.i.a_pod. And now we're on TikTok at t.i.a_pod.
TikTok, we're coming for you. So we're coming for all the platforms. Our social media has been, but we're going to bring it back out.
By the time this comes out, social media will be
social media is going to be, we're going to have a lot more presence. And, you know, we're going to keep having conversations like these. Like season 3, when the cameras came, like it's going to be a little more fun. We're just not going to sit on one issue and really get deep into it. We're going to try to make it fun, interesting for people to listen to. And let us know how you like it. Let us know about topics you want to hear about. If something is pressing or something is very important to you specifically, the people listening to you, just let us know. Like we will talk about it. We'll use our platform to talk about it and look into it. And yeah, man, this was a great episode.
Another one.
Africa's up right now. The Caribbean will be back soon. Don't worry. Bob Marley carried you guys for a long time.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, we're off on that note. Thank you. Another one. Peace out.